What's up, everybody? My name's Tyler. You're watching Mom's Basement MMA, and today I'm joined by an undefeated lightweight from New York. He joins me right now after just winning at LFA 194. Kevin Carrier's on the program today. Appreciate your time this afternoon, sir.
Appreciate you having me.
Kevin, I feel like with you, there's like a hidden story. Like I look at you, I do the Tapology scrub, and I see a guy with a deceptive amount of amateur bouts, a ton of experience. You go pro in 2017, and then I don't hear from you for a long time. You go on a bit of a break. Can you tell people, can you fill in the gaps? What's your pro career been like? And can you explain, like, Bellator 185 to LFA 194? You're talking about a lot of years in between.
Yeah, 6.5 to be exact. It was a long road to get back to competition. Life just kind of took the front seat for a while. I was always training, but first and foremost during my fight at Bellator, I broke my hands. So then I went and I competed in a grappling match while I was suspended from the athletic commission because I was like, I just turned pro. I'm finally able to get some cash for these events. And I won, but I tore my ACL in the process. So I didn't think it was fully torn. The initial doctor said it was partial tear, some PT, yada, yada, yada. Went about almost a year on that. And I was like, I got to check this out. Ended up finally getting a second opinion. They said surgery, rehab that. I was getting ready for a fight beginning of 2020. And, COVID shut down the world. So, and people were getting opportunities, but those were guys in the UFC already or established with more than one fight, So, I was like, I need a little bit of a reset because New York, especially at the time, didn't really have much going on. So I had a buddy living out in Florida, went out there for a bit, was training at what is Sanford at the time, now Killcliff. And Florida was a little tougher of a transition than I anticipated. So my wife and I ended up moving back to upstate New York, and we ended up finding out we were pregnant in the middle of the pandemic. And, our son needed surgery. So I'm like, okay, now training's really in the backseat for a little bit. I made a home gym and whatnot, but not training how you need to compete. Ended up having another son. And, we moved back to Rochester because we were living in Syracuse about an hour and a half out. And I had some buddies that were actively competing out here, and I went and started training with them. They're like, dude, you're fucking good, man. Like, you got to still compete while you still have some youth to you. And I was like, I do feel pretty damn good. And I got an opportunity to fight Combat Zone in New England halfway through this year. And I took it, ran with it, got first round TKO, and then got an opportunity to fight at LFA in my home state, which is pretty rare out here 2 weeks ago now.
Kevin, like from the Bellator fight in 2017, and then like going through all the things that have been happening in your personal life, and then you start training again. Like, was there a bit of anxiety before that fight at Combat Zone 84? Because it's like, they're bringing you into New England. The guy from New York, nobody wants to see win. They're bringing you into, the idea. We know how regional MMA is. The idea is we want our guy to win, and you kind of like ruin the plans. But like, was there like anxiety, excitement? Like, was there a buildup going into that fight in New England?
So to be honest with you, there was a lot less anxiety for that fight than this past weekend, as odd as that sounds. The natural nerves of going and fighting for the first time in 6.5 years were there, but I was very confident in my preparation and my skill set. I thought I was going to run this guy over. Respectfully to him, that's what happened.
You go out there, you get the job done versus Sylvester. Like, at what point does the LFA contact you with this opportunity to fight in your backyard?
So, I saw that they were coming out here a few times. Upstate New York, for those that don't know, doesn't really have a pro scene. We kind of have to rely on these bigger shows coming out this way. When I first went pro, Bellator was dipping their toes in it. There was also Combate Global at the time. But after that, it was pretty much radio silence. Oh, there was also King of the Cage. But other than that, there wasn't anything after the pandemic. And then all of a sudden, LFA came out here. My buddy John Piersman actually headlined one. So I'm like, oh, maybe there's a possibility I could get on one of these. And my wife actually ends up working for them. So she was a good in with that as well. So I heard that they were coming back in October, and I was like, tag me in, coach, put me in.
Well, for you in particular, there were some challenges with LFA 194. You're supposed to fight Tyler Jones. That fight doesn't end up happening, and then you get a new opponent. Can you kind of talk to me through the opponent change? Jones to Richie, just kind of like what was that adjustment like? And was that kind of like a last minute curveball? Because I'm sure you had like a specific game plan in mind to finding a guy that you probably didn't really know a whole lot about.
Right. Yeah. So off the bat, when I took the fight, I was in pretty rough shape. I took it about 9 weeks out. I was dealing with an injury before the camp got to start. So like I was pretty much coming in, I won't say off the couch, but in a way off the couch. And got the name, and I just ran with it. I watched a couple fights of his that night, and I was like, fuck it. Like, this is a gamer. He's long, he's dangerous on the feet, on the mat. Southpaw, which has a bunch of tricks in and of itself to it. He's really good at finding that left straight down the pipe, stepping outside the lead foot. So these are all things I was like kind of planning on executing. About 2 weeks go by, and he ends up pulling out of the fight. And there was talk of a few people, a couple undefeated fighters. I said yes to them. But somewhere along the lines, they threw Richie in there, and I said yes to whoever. I said, I've already sold a good amount of tickets for this fight. I got to get on this card. So whoever you get me. So yeah, it was about a 2-week battle to figure that out. And then it was just like, I was planning on keeping it straight up standing because I'm a little older now, and I know knockouts get you the notoriety you need. But somewhere along the lines, I was like, fuck this, dude. It's MMA. Like, I fight at my best when I just let my style free flow. And I just kind of went with that about 2 weeks out from the fight. And luckily, that's what I ended up implementing during the fight.
What do you remember about fighting him? Obviously, you can go back now, that fight on Fight Pass, which is pretty cool. Like, when you go back, you watch yourself on film. Like, are you a guy that's gracious to yourself, or are you like one of those types you look at your fights and you're just like, man, I don't like that?
I hate to be that guy, but I'm my biggest critic. I have
Sure.
a lot of people like that are complimenting me. I have a lot of people that say, hey, you did this wrong. I said, listen, motherfucker, I know, okay? In the fight, I knew I was in control of the fight, but it was pissing me off how not in the lead I felt. Like, I thought I was just gonna run right over him, but he was ready to fight. He did not come for just a paycheck, and I knew that. Looking at his record, it's 3-4, and he was on a 3-fight losing streak. But that guy only fights studs, and he's got dynamite in his hands, his feet, his knees, his elbows. His ground's a little iffy, but he was actually pretty tough there. Like, he's definitely knowledgeable everywhere the fight goes. And I was almost surprised when I threw him down for the first time. I was like throwing a cat in a tub of water. He was not trying to say that he was up kicking, hammer fisting, clawing. I said, might as well go back to the feet, and we'll see if we go back to the floor from here. And we did. So
You end up getting him out of there with an arm triangle choke in the second round. Can you tell me what was it that you saw in him where you knew you had that submission locked in? Can you tell me how you set it up?
to be honest, I in live time, I just found it, and that's kind of what happens sometimes. You just kind of rely off instincts. In camp, I was hitting it left and right, but if you asked me going into this fight if that's how I was going to win, I'd tell you absolutely not. I'd say I was looking to take his head off, or ground and pound him, or potentially hit a cooler submission that I end up planning to hit in the future. But to be honest, like I said, in the fight, it felt more competitive than it looked looking back. So I was just going with whatever would get him out of there in the moment. I said, I got a lot of people in the crowd I need to go see. My wife's here. I need to make it out unscathed. So he gave it to me and I took it.
Well, congratulations to you. You extend your winning streak. And just for you, like coming back off of a hiatus and then getting an opportunity to fight in your own backyard, you get a win in front of like your friends, your family. Like how special was that win at LFA 194 for you?
It was special. It was definitely special. That night I was sour just because of my performance. Like a lot of competitors can tell you like how that is, but like when I took a step back, it was probably actually after my second drink. I was like, you know what, embrace this night. Because what I realized after a 6.5 year layoff is another fight is never guaranteed, and we are not promised to do this. We have an opportunity to do this, and I had all my closest friends, family, all in the crowd. Like I had my old principal from high school in the crowd. It's like, just stop for a second, take it all in, embrace it, because, you know, I don't plan on that being my last one, but it could be, like tomorrow's never promised, let alone another fight. So,
Kevin, tell me about what do you have planned? Like, obviously, you go out there and you get a submission finish. Looking at you now, that fight wasn't all that long ago, only a few weeks ago. You don't look all cut up. You look like you're pretty able-bodied and ready to kind of go back out there. Ideally, what's your timeline? When would you like to go out and fight again?
as of right now, the game plan is early next year, unless something like crazy was to come up. Like, and realistically, there's nothing crazy that's going to come up, but ideally early next year, whether that's January, February. That's the time frame we're looking at. Probably with LFA again.
Do you have an opponent in mind that you'd like to see? Is Tyler Jones something that interests you if the timing lines up, or are you just kind of like, whatever name's on the contract, you're ready to go?
Yeah, I don't really have a preference right now. I know Tyler Jones is a hell of a fighter and a hell of a fight. He comes to bring it when I actually signed on for it. I was like, yes, his style and my style, they kind of bounce off each other perfectly for like a fight of the year type candidate. If that was to get lined up again in the future, I'm all for it. If not, I won't lose too much sleep over it, respectfully to him. But yeah, we're just in the process of starting both of our pro careers. So yeah, I don't really have a preference of who's next, to be honest.
And can you tell me a little bit like Western New York, for a lot of people who aren't familiar with that area, it's kind of like an unknown element, right? Like a lot of people just aren't going to have a ton of familiarity with it. Where are you getting most of your work in, and who are some of your predominant training partners?
Yeah, so over the years, I mean, if you're from the area and you're in the scene, you know how good the competitors are out here for the most part. Throughout the years, I mean, my lineage of sorts, like how they look at it for jiu-jitsu, I'd say my lineage for MMA is Team Bomb Squad. And you look at who's come through those rings, you've got people like John Jones, Aljamain Sterling, um, Des Green, among just tons of other people. Like these are people just off the top of my tongue. But you've also got a bunch of people like Pat Mix and all these people. But there's been a trend where everybody who has any bit of success out here, if they want to make it to that next level, they have to go. They have to go out to a different area, a different
Hmm.
state, whatever it may be. Um, Personally, I think that there's enough talent in the area where we can thrive in this day and age. We got people like John Piersma, uh, Liam Anderson. And then we got people on the come up like Jake Hicksonbaugh, Jake Bone, who's been around forever, Vinny Iannuzzo, Dan Gura. There's a lot of people, but they're from all over is the thing. You got
Sure.
people in Rochester, you got people in Syracuse, you got people in Buffalo, you got people in Utica. So it's a matter of having a hub, and then all of us cross training every now and then together. And I kind of, to be honest, I learned that recipe from New England all those guys. There's so much talent out there. And I trained out there for a bit. That's where I was before the pandemic. I was going out there constantly, but I'd see all these guys are traveling about a half hour, 2 hours just for a session. But, you know, with rising tides, it makes all ships rise. So kind of took that formula and brought it over here.
Well, Kevin, I appreciate the time this afternoon. You're a guy that I want to see in the cage in short order. You look healthy. Let's keep it going. Let's see if we can see your name show up on one of these upcoming fight cards for LFA. I actually wanted to turn the mic over to you before we wrap. I know that you have a lot of people that work with you behind the scenes to put you in the position to compete. If there's any sponsors or anyone that you need to shout out before I let you go, let's do it.
First and foremost, my wife. She's pretty much the maestro behind the scenes. Anything that I'm able to do right now in the cage, whatever it is, it's all because of her, and I can't thank her enough. And then as far as sponsors and whatnot, big time shout out to HKA. They make all my gear. They give me all my equipment for training. Four Winds Chimney, which is a company out in Rochester. If you need a chimney or fireplace work, hit them up. You've got Redacted Hot Sauce based out of Tampa. They've got amazing sauces, and that's not even like me trying to just whatever. It is all amazing, flavorful, whatnot. U of R Medicine. Okay. Yeah, U of R Medicine, Fitness Science. They do all my strength and conditioning, just state of the art facility with great teachers helping me get ready for each and every competition.
All right, perfect. Well, Kevin, you're the man. I appreciate your time. I look forward to having you back on the program very soon, sir.
Appreciate you, brother.